readers, welcome back to Reads with Rune B with me, Rune B. Let's get into our read for today, which is chapter 4 of our secondary read, Gumshoes. And yeah, let's get into it. Chapter 4, The Case. Madison sat on the couch, shivering under a thick blanket. Stuart sat next to her, concerned, but without any words to comfort her. Timothy had finished warming a coffee mug on a Bunsen burner and walked over to Madison. He offered it to her, but she pushed it away. "No thanks," she said. "It's quite good. You need to increase your body temperature to stop the shivers, and this will help." "What is it?" "My own special blend. It combines vitamins and minerals with an agent that keeps the molecules heated to a perfect 83 degrees. The ideal temperature for satisfying consumption." "Sounds gross." Stuart swiped the mug from Timothy. "It's actually pretty awesome. It's like supercharged hot chocolate." Timothy's not really a salesman. "Are you sure it's not poison? There's no hydrochloric acid? I'm not going to turn invisible?" asked Madison. Stuart shrugged. "Hasn't happened yet." Madison grabbed the mug from Stuart's outstretched arm and took a hesitant sip. She licked her lips, and finally, satisfied she had not ingested anything harmful, she swallowed a larger gulp. "This is really good. Thanks." "Now that your sobbing has ceased," said Timothy, "can you please inform us as to your plight? I lost your previous explanation in your tears." "Yeah, you can start by telling us how you got up here," Stuart added. "I climbed the tree," Madison said. "It's an old oak with lots of footholds. It's not that difficult." Stuart looked at Timothy in disbelief. "Why didn't we think of that?" Madison took a swig of the hot chocolate and collected herself. "Today I stayed late after school to finish a story for the newspaper. The advisor drove me home because I missed the last bus. After he dropped me off, I walked to the door and found it unlocked. Not ajar, just unlocked. I know my father had told me to call someone if that ever happened, but I didn't. I couldn't stop myself. I had to know. So I opened the door, and when I walked in, I saw everything was chaotic, as if there had been a huge struggle. The table was overturned, our couch was flipped sideways, papers were strewn everywhere. Even our TV was smashed to pieces." Madison stopped as tears formed in her eyes. Stuart reached into the cushion of the couch and pulled out a handful of tissues. "They're clean, I promise." Madison stared flummoxed for a moment as she accepted the tissues and wiped her eyes. "Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm a mess right now." "We're in no rush. Anything you need," Timothy butted in rudely. "Well, actually, I have a large class project due tomorrow, and I need to finish." "Ow!" The shoe Stuart had thrown at Timothy had hit him squarely in the nose and shut him up. Stuart turned his attention to Madison, who had just finished blowing her nose into the wad of tissues. "Okay, I think I'm good now." She composed herself and continued. "I was really, really scared and called out for my dad. He's always home when I get home from school. He doesn't like me coming home to a dark and empty house." "Then why didn't he pick you up?" Timothy said. "He was supposed to, but Mr. Reed offered to take me home. He's that new English teacher they hired away from Brewerton Middle. They made him an advisor to the newspaper. I was alone for a little bit this afternoon while Mr. Reed ran errands. When he came back, I don't think he expected me to be there, but I'd gotten caught up in finishing an article. I missed the last bus home. So I called my dad and asked him if I could catch a ride with Mr. Reed. He said he told me it was all right." "Sounds logical, doesn't it, Timothy?" said Stuart. "Yes, very." Timothy turned to Madison. "Please continue." "So, the house was a wreck. and I started calling out for my dad. I searched the whole house, but nothing. He's been kidnapped. I know it, but I don't know how I know it. I don't know why he was kidnapped. I'm so scared. I came here. I didn't know where else to turn. Well, we sure do appreciate you coming to us for comfort, said Stuart. I just didn't think we were that close. Oh, I'm sorry, Madison said. I didn't come for that. Then why are you here? Timothy said. I want you to take the case. Madison, most of our cases involve much smaller disputes. The lost cat or the theft of a Sunday newspaper. This is more the jurisdiction of the police force. Oh, I called the police. They took my statement and dusted or whatever it is they do and told me they wouldn't arrest until they found my father. But I can't just sit and do nothing. I want to help. I need someone on my side working this case. I'm sure there are much more qualified investigators in this town, said Stuart. Yes, I'm sure there are, but they charge an arm and a leg, and I don't have that kind of money. And you're selling yourself short. I've seen you find stuff, like when you found my pen this morning. You're great, so I thought you'd help. You know, because you're my friend. As she said those last words, she placed her hand on Stuart's. He felt an electrical charge between them. So, will you take the case? Stuart jumped on the chance. Timothy interrupted. Stuart, please, may I have several words with you? Can it wait? Said Stuart. Timothy slammed his foot on the ground. No, I'm afraid it cannot. Fine. Jeez. Madison, just stay right here. This should only take a second. Timothy waited, hot as a pistol, as Stuart walked towards him, and then, when Stuart was in reach, Timothy smacked Stuart upside the head. I cannot believe you were just about to endanger our lives and the life of that nice girl in there just so you can hold her hand. Read my lips. We are not taking this case. Listen, partner, we have the most popular girl in school sitting in our treehouse, and you want to turn her away? Precisely. That's exactly what I'm saying. Thank you for understanding. I don't understand, Tim. I don't understand even one iota. Come on, Stuart. We investigate petty crime. This is way out of our jurisdiction. Taking on a case of this magnitude is ludicrous and dangerous in every conceivable way. I refuse to be a part of it. Really? You refuse? Well, let me tell you something. We get picked on every day in school. Madison is a serious babe, and she seems to like us for some reason. Now, if we don't do this, we'll only piss her off, and we'll be stuck in a life of swirlies, wet willies, and wedgies for the rest of forever. Madison is our way out. Timothy pondered that for a moment. You make an interesting point, and I would prefer not to be tormented anymore. So what you're saying is, if we help her, there is a chance that her popularity would extend to us. At least we've got a shot at it, and it's the best shot we have. I say we go inside, probe a little, get some answers. And if we think we can work the case, we'll investigate further. What do we have to lose? Our lives, said Timothy. Quit being so melodramatic. Madison picked up a beaker full of purple liquid from behind Timothy's desk and stared at it. This is so cool. Luminous phosphorus? Timothy ran over and grabbed the beaker from Madison's hand and placed it back in its proper place. Yeah, right, he said. Like I plan on revealing my science fair project to you. Now, please desist in touching my equipment, Madison. I don't go to your home and read through your diary. Stuart glared daggers at Timothy. I have great news, Madison. We'll take the case. Timothy's ears perked up. But that wasn't the deal. I didn't. Madison wrapped her arms around Stuart. Oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's so great. After several wonderful seconds, Madison released Stuart. Oh, wow. Sorry about that. I'm usually not such a hugger. Twice in one day. That's really unlike me. Stuart tried to play it cool. Oh, it's all right. I'll recover, you know. What do we do first? Madison said. Do you want to see my room, interview the suspects, gather evidence? First, I need you to calm down, Stuart said. Before we get started, I need to ask you some questions about that night. Right, of course. Ask away. Stuart dug into a pile of comic books and pulled out a reporter's notebook. He flipped to an open page and then pulled out a pen from inside a bag of potato chips. Now, you said you called your father. What time was that? Stuart asked. About 6:15, Madison said. It's roughly 9:45 now, said Timothy. Wow, this has been a late night for you. We have a deadline tomorrow, and I had to make sure the layouts were right before we went to press. And when did Mr. Reed drop you off? Stuart said. I don't know. Wait a minute. Madison flipped open her cell phone and searched her texts. I sent a text to my dad to let him know I'd be home soon. That was around 6:30. I must have gotten home around 6:45. So your dad was kidnapped sometime between 6:15 and 6:45. That's a 30-minute gap. Did Mr. Reed come inside? Did you see him again? No. When I turned around after walking inside, he was already gone. Is there anything else you can remember? Timothy asked. I'm sorry. It was all a blur. I remember hearing from one of the detectives that it didn't look like anything was missing. They asked me to do a pass, and nothing appeared missing to me either. Before she can elaborate further, Madison's cell phone rang. Crud, it's my gran. I just ran out without telling her anything. I should go. Tell you what, meet me at my lunch table tomorrow, and I'll try and piece everything together for you. Neither Stuart nor Timothy had ever been asked to sit at the popular table before. Yeah, that would be cool, said Stuart. Great. See you then. Ciao. Madison ran out into the rainy night. Timothy sidled up to Stuart. This is a bad idea. I feel it in my tibia. That girl is trouble. I know, isn't it great? Stuart couldn't stop smiling. Stuart walked home. He opened the front door and walked into the kitchen, which faced the street. A large bay window looked out onto Timothy's house. He sat down at the kitchen table as his mother finished serving dinner. Only the dark circles under her eyes belied the otherwise boundless energy and ceaselessly chipper attitude. She never left a hair out of place or a speck of dirt anywhere in the house, except for Stuart's disastrous room, which he had refused to enter for months. Good evening, dear. You were out late. You really should call if you're out late fighting crime. Stuart's mother set a plate of unappetizing meat in front of him. Stuart lost every ounce of his appetite. What is this, butt chunk? No, silly, his mother said. Meatloaf. Yuck. It's your father's favorite. Yeah, I know. Where is he? Stuart's mother sighed as she grabbed her plate and sat next to him. You know how he is. Work, work, work. But let's not talk about your father. Let's talk about you. Tell me how your day was. Stuart stabbed his meatloaf with his fork several times, trying to mobilize his appetite, but to no effect. Mom? No offense, but could we order pizza? She looked down at her plate, and even she did not find the meatloaf very appealing. You know what? I think that's a great idea. More for your father, right? Stuart pushed his plate away. Right, he can have as much of this as he wants. His mother walked to the phone while Stuart looked wistfully out the window. Across the street, Timothy was eating alone and reading from a large textbook. "Hey, can we invite Tim?" he asked. His mother barely had time to nod her head in approval before Stuart jumped out of his chair and rushed across the street. And that was the end of chapter 4 of Gumshoes. See you next time. Like, subscribe, and keep reading. Bye for now, readers.